Now I continue today by the grace of God in 1 John chapter 5 and verse number 16. If any man see his brother sin a sin which is not unto death, he shall ask, and he shall give him life for them that sin not unto death. There is a sin unto death. I do not say that he shall pray for it. All unrighteousness is sin, and there is a sin not unto death. I've been trying to define from the Bible the matter of sin. You and I believe that the Bible teaches the matter of hamartology, which is the doctrine of sin. But how am I to define sin from the Bible? To this point, we have seen that sin is a failure to meet one's obligation to God. Secondly, sin is a wrong attitude toward the person of God. Thirdly, sin is a wrong action in relation to the will of God. On yesterday, I began dealing with the fact that sin is a wrong action in relation to men. Sin is a wrong action in relation to men. There are three aspects of this that we find in the Bible. We find favoritism. On yesterday, we saw James 2 and verse number 9. But if ye have respect to persons, ye commit sin, and are convinced of the law as transgressors. Now, what is to be understood by this matter of having respect to persons? If ye have respect to persons, ye commit sin. Now, I have heard men say that we ought to treat everybody the same. That's not possible. In fact, in some instances, it would be immoral. There's only one woman on earth that I treat like my wife in every aspect of married life. And for me to treat any other woman like I treat my wife, or behave toward any other woman as I behave toward my wife, would be called fornication and adultery. Now, obviously, we ought to treat everybody the same. Everybody ought to be treated the same. That's not taught in the Bible, and that doesn't make any sense. I mean, that's just a ridiculous thing. I would not treat a known thief the way that I would treat an honest and upright man by making an honest and upright man the treasurer in my church. And a man that is a known thief and has done time in prison for theft or embezzlement, I'm certainly not going to make him the treasurer in my church. This idea of treating everybody the same is a misnomer. You have your family and I have mine. Paul said, what, have you not houses to eat and drink in? You go in your house and eat supper, and I'll go in my house and eat supper. And I go to visit with people. They say, make yourself at home, preacher. Well, I appreciate that, but this is not my home. I can't make myself at home here. I can be comfortable here, but I can't make myself at home here. This is not my home. So, if ye have respect to persons, ye commit sin, or are convinced of the law as transgressors. So how am I to understand this? In the context of James, if a rich man comes in with a golden ring and gay apparel, and you put him in the chief seat, and then a poor man come in vile raiment, just, regular old street clothes, and you tell him to sit under a footstool, or you put him at the back of the church. What, know ye not that rich men oppress you? Now, this matter of favoritism must be understood like this to make any sense at all. If I'm going to take a King James Bible literally, favoritism, if ye have respect to persons, ye commit sin. Favoritism would have to be seen in the idea that I will befriend this person for what I can get out of him. I am befriending this person for my personal advantage. Now, in business, I've tried to meet everybody at face value. I've tried to meet everybody as they walk through the front door. When I go out and hold revival meetings, I don't compare one church to another, but I try to preach to the people where I'm preaching on the level that I'm able to preach to them on. And I'm not able to preach it the same in every church where I go, but I try to do what I can for the people where I happen to be. But if I were to try to befriend a particular pastor so that I could get into his pulpit, or that I could receive his offering, or I try to get in with this group of business people because they have a lot of pull with the Chamber of Commerce and they'll begin sending business my way, or if a politician says I'm going to befriend this corporation or this wealthy individual like George Soros because he will send not only a lot of money to me for my campaign, but this man will also personally make me rich. This man has the ability to make me rich. And that goes back to what James is talking about in the context when he says a man comes in with a gold ring and gay apparel, and you say, well, sit here in the chief seat. You say this man's a wealthy man, and if I can get into his good graces, maybe some of his money will become mine. Maybe I can get some of his money by befriending him and by showing him special honor. That's favoritism. It's obvious that there are some people that I can have better fellowship with than others, and the churches where I go to preach, I go there over and over, and I have a group of men that travel with me. And after a while, the people in the congregation start asking, well, where's brother so-and-so? He usually comes with you. Where's brother so-and-so? He generally rides with you. And these are men that I have good fellowship with, and I can ride the highway with and enjoy company with in the automobile, and they don't weary me and I don't weary them, and we just have a chemistry. We can get along the one with the other. Now that doesn't mean that I don't have any respect for other men that I would not necessarily want to ride 250 miles a night in the automobile with. And certainly there's some men I wouldn't want to drive for me. I'd be a nervous wreck by the time we arrived, and the other men, even if I did the driving, I'd be a nervous wreck by the time we got to the meeting. So it's obvious that I can't always treat everybody the same. But I should be careful about showing favoritism for personal advantage. If I befriend this individual who'll make a large donation to my church, if I befriend this individual, he'll send business to me. That is favoritism. That's regarded in the Bible as sin. Secondly, I read in the Bible that all unrighteousness is sin. Look with me, please, back in 1 John 5 and verse number 17. In my text in verse 16, if any man see his brother sin a sin which is not unto death, he shall ask, and he shall give him life, for them that sin not unto death. There is a sin unto death. I do not say that he shall pray for it. Then verse 17, all unrighteousness is sin. All unrighteousness is sin. And there is a sin not unto death. Now, this matter of unrighteousness is a view of human relationship and human actions from God's viewpoint. Now, ultimately, and I don't want to oversimplify this, but sometimes if you can boil things down to their most common element, then it aids learning and it aids understanding. But in the final analysis, do you realize that all sin is against God? Now, I can sin against my brother. I can sin against my sister. A child can sin against their parents. Honor thy father and thy mother. To fail to do that is a sin. A man can sin against his wife. A wife can sin against her husband. But in the final analysis, all sin is always against God, because it is God that has laid down the standard of righteousness. So for me as an individual to go beyond or to go outside or to go over the line of demarcation that God has drawn concerning the matter of righteousness is for me not only to sin, but it is for me to sin against God, because it is God that has laid down that line of demarcation. So all wrongs committed against our fellow men are recognized as unrighteousness. And if I sin against a man, if I defraud a man, I lie to a man, I steal from a man, whatever it may be, in the final analysis, I'm sinning against God. Then number 3, wrong actions in relation to men. I'm trying to define the matter of sin in the Bible. Despising one's neighbor. Now, this society that we're living in today is full of this area of despite. And the matter of despite is not coming from the right. It is not coming from conservative Christians. It is coming from the left. I was in a real estate class yesterday as I'm recording this program for my mandatory continuing education to keep my license up to date. And the lawyer that was teaching the course commented about protected classes. And laughingly, the attorney said that we're all a protected class because we're all human beings. And there was a laughter. I guess there was 100 realtors in that class, and there was kind of an undertone laughter of disbelief in the class that you're kidding us. Because you and I, that are white, heterosexual males, Christians, we understand that we're not protected at all. Now, the Bible says in Proverbs 14:21, he that despiseth his neighbor sinneth, but he that hath mercy on the poor, happy is he. If a man despises his neighbor, the Bible regards that as the matter of sin. You see, this is direct disobedience. The Lord Jesus said, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. It is also inconsistent with a life that is lived in harmony with God. Now, when you and I preach the gospel to the lost, it's not because we hate them, it's because we love them. If we hated the unregenerated, if we hated people that despise God and despise the will of God, then our attitude would be, let them burn in hell. I'm not going to witness to them, let them go to hell. Now, I'm going to witness to them and I'm going to try to reach them, but I don't want people like that influencing my children and grandchildren and influencing the Sunday schools in our churches. I want drag queen men that dress up like women. I want them to be saved. But I'm not going to invite drag queens into the Sunday school in the local church. I'm not going to do that. Despising one's neighbor is regarded in the Bible as sin. My, how much sin there is in our society today in this light.
South Carolina 29602. Visit the website at thebrightspothour.com.